The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pop would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you. This holiday, now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
I'm in studio with the trader. I mean, you know what? I'm not even allowed to talk about your new venture or where you're going or what you're doing. I'm really not allowed to be in the room with you or even talk to you at all anymore. So I'm going to make it really simple. After I promo a few things, I'm just going to do what I usually I start talking, you start talking, I go wander around for 20 minutes and come back. But this time I'm going to do it because I'm angry with you.
Okay.
This time it's not just going to be because you're boring me. This time it's going to be anger, all right? So I will promote this. This is the Russo-Souhan Show, part of the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network, MNSPN.com, which is also becoming the Mix Sports Radio Network. Check out the Mix Sports Radio Facebook page. We'll also be getting you a website and other things to check out in that regard soon as we start to distribute our show around the state. Today we are at the Minnesota Broadcasters Association offices. Jim Dubois is running the board. Scott Yell is second-guessing us, and Michael Russo is here, and I'm going to walk out of the room, and you can talk about whatever your new announcement, whatever your new venture is.
We're going to have to do this every show.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with leaving the room when you're talking.
As you know, I have left the Star Tribune. We talked about it actually on last week's show, how tough it was, and we kind of beat around the bush of where I'm going next, but now I'm happy to say that I'm going to The Athletic. I have started at The Athletic. Started yesterday. I wrote my first big story today. I have a great Bruce Boudreau piece tomorrow. You could subscribe. Sorry, Jim. At theathletic.com.
I'm not.
If you go to my new branded Twitter account, Russo Hockey, and The Athletic MIN.
The great thing about your new Twitter handle is it looks like Russo Slacks did it for you.
He did. Of course he did. You think that I was able to do that? Yeah. I have a newfound friendship with Russo Slacks. He actually pointed out, he goes, this is going to be really awkward when, he always knows exactly. He's like embeds himself in our mind. And he goes, it's got to be really awkward for Jim to have you on the show now when you're always going to be promoting the competitor. So, good point. But anyway, so if you go to Russo Hockey and The Athletic MIN until September 15th, you get a 30% discount. It's $3.50 a month, less than $1 a week. $41 for the year, and you get everything on their platform. And I'm going to cover the Wild just like I did at the Star Tribune. As you know, Jim, I love the paper. I didn't want to leave. It's not their fault I left. I just was really excited about this new opportunity. The first thing I did when I started at The Athletic was bought a Star Tribune subscription because I read it for a lot more than the hockey coverage. And
you gonna send me hate mail like everybody else?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just gonna tweet you. You idiot. Blah blah blah. So
you got it. Now you got to do it right. You got to say you're an idiot, and then forget to.
You know what you should do is
first of all, Y-O-U-R, an idiot.
Yeah. You should change your email address to like the GM of a team or a coach of a team. It's never like the first initial last name at whatever.com.
Right.
You should do that. Like just have like some email or people can't get you. Although it is on your byline, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody said me the other day, wrote me the other day, it was at the end of my tenure at the Strib, said, hey, I read you all the time. I'm trying to send you an email. Can you tell me what your email address is? And instead of being the jerk that I can be, like, well, if you read me all the time, you'd know that under my byline with every story, it said mrusso@startribune.com. I just said, it's mrusso@startribune.com. So
for another 2 hours.
Yeah. So, and now it is gone, as you learned today.
As I learned trying to email you today.
Yeah.
That was my bad.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Jim's like, hey, we're waiting for you at like 1:15, and then all of a sudden I get I tell him, I'm like, I didn't get any confirmation at the time, and he goes, I emailed you, and I said, I don't work at the Star Tribune anymore. So,
God, I hate
yeah.
you.
So, theathletic.com.
Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria. I went over and saw Scott Dayton the other day, actually yesterday, and actually bought some clothes.
Nice.
You need to go do that.
Yes.
Scott, he's got great stuff and a couple of new lines I hadn't seen before, so I bought some clothes over at Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Thanks again to Fixology Repair, third floor of the Mall of America up by Nordstrom's. Michael always has his stuff fixed there, and we always talk about John Hedges and his shop. And thanks to Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, our longest-running sponsors, and, of course, Hell's Kitchen for hosting all the live shows. Where do you want to start with hockey, Michael? What's the story of the day?
Well, there's really no, I will say, again, I'm promoting a new venture, but Monday I did hang out with Bruce Boudreau all afternoon, which was pretty almost fitting because it was a year ago, Labor Day. That was Labor Day. And on Labor Day last year, I hung out with George McPhee, his old boss, for an entire day in Vegas to do that big package that we did in the Strip. And so I spent the day with him, and so today on The Athletic, I did a big story, and it's free to everybody. We'll start the paywall next week, but it's free to everybody now. It's just their depth chart, where he sees everybody in training camp. He's very excited about this team. It's really bugging him that the NHL Network doesn't have the Wild in the playoffs. He's like, the second most points last year, most goals. We were an exciting team, is what he was saying. And so, he went through the lines with me, and my depth chart for the last depth chart I did on the Strib was absolutely dead accurate. I surmised after they signed Cullen that Ennis would probably start training camp on the fourth line, and he confirmed that to me. So the lines I had on my last depth chart on the Strib, and that's currently on the Athletic right now, are accurate. And then tomorrow, I'll have a really fun Bruce Boudreau story, Jim, where I just kind of hung out at his house. We saw, like, I walk, I ring the doorbell, and he opens the door. He's like, we don't want any, that type of thing. And then I walk in, and it's just exactly like you would think Bruce Boudreau's house is. They're just right there next to the door is his Jack Adams trophy, and there's on the walls an Alex Ovechkin bobblehead. And then you go to the TV, and it's on NHL Network, and he's like, this guy he's exactly what he paints himself is. He's a hockey geek. That is what he is, and he's proud of it. And so he gave me a whole tour of his house. It's kind of a museum. It's still very sad that remember last year when he was moving here, he had one of the trucks, the moving trucks, got into an accident somehow in North Carolina when it was coming to Minnesota, and these guys stole a safe. It's on video, and in that safe had championship rings and his prized Spider-Man collection of comics and things like that. So it's exactly what it is. And then, you're going to see Bruce Boudreau quotes from this day for the rest of training camp on the Athletic. Half my time the last 3-4 days has been transcribing this 4 hours of Bruce Boudreau and putting it in different files of my head's a cloud of putting in different files of what I want to use and when I want to use it and things like that. And that's kind of the fun part of it. So that'll be that. And then the other thing is Marcus Foligno. They haven't gotten him done yet. If training camp was tomorrow, it would be done today. And it's not done yet because, his agent's trying to inch every penny out of him. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be exactly what we thought it was. A 3-year deal in the 2.5, 2.6 range or whatever. That's just my guess. If worse comes to worse and they can't get it done, they'll just give him a 1-year deal at 2-something. There's a reason why he didn't file for arbitration. Guys like him just don't get paid in arbitration. They don't have the stats. He had 23 points last year, 13 goals or something, playing on a line for a lot of the year with Reinhardt and Eichel. So, those guys don't get paid. He brings a lot of intangibles that this team needs, size and strength and grit and leadership and ability to fight and things like that. But those guys get paid a certain amount of money, and it's still a lot. And so my guess is that as we get closer to camp, he's going to sign. All signs point to him signing because he's in town. He's playing. He's partaking in the captain's practices. He's not going to, as I've said all along, he's not going to start his relationship with the Wild by holding out. So as we get closer, it's going to get done.
He's not going to be one of those people who just like signs with another organization.
No, you really can't do that. You get. I got you. Took a while. Sorry.
By the way, I'm going to take this moment to advocate.
That's where, by the way, it's important to be in studio with somebody. Like, if I didn't see your face after you asked the question, if we were on Skype and like Pittsburgh's in the Stanley Cup final, I'd be talking 2 minutes from now on. So.
And then I'd say gotcha at the end. I do want to advocate for all paid sports journalism and journalism in general. I hope the Athletic succeeds. It's employing a lot of friends of mine, a lot of people who are unemployed or underemployed. You're in a different situation. You had a great job.
I was definitely not underemployed.
I mean, you went to another. You went from one great job to another. But I want journalists to be able to work and make a good living. The Athletic is helping that regard. I wish them all the best. I wish you all the best. And I also want the Star Tribune to thrive. And, you look at what's happening in Houston. Without the Houston Chronicle, there's so much we wouldn't know about what was happening on the ground during Harvey. The South Florida papers are going to have their hands full. They're telling important human stories. And you know what? Here's my deal. Anybody's going to a coffee shop in the last 10 years knows that people will walk in a coffee shop and without thinking about it, spend $10, $20, right? That buys you a month's subscription to the Star Tribune and a month's subscription to the Athletic. If you can afford a coffee, you can afford to support journalism.
And that's what I meant by I subscribe to the Strip. I mean, who did you read when that poor woman from Australia was shot? Who did you read when the mosque bombing happened? I mean, there is such a value to the Star Tribune, but beyond Michael Russo. So the first thing I did when everything was canceled on me was resubscribe to the paper.
Good.
Sorry.
And on our network, on our broadcast network,
can I just tell you one funny story? So I met with HR, and Becky, really nice woman at the Strip, and the last thing she said to me, she's like, "Now be careful." And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, your long-term disability and your life insurance ends right now. And I was like,
don't trip down the stairs is what she's saying?
Yeah. She's like, don't get hit by a bus.
So if you're enamored of a subscription service, whether it's the Athletic or the Star Tribune, we would appreciate you subscribing. This is an advertising venture here, our network here. So we appreciate if you support our sponsors. They've been great to us. They've been loyal to us, and we hope to always bring them value. And one of our top advertisers and sponsors is Twill in the Edina Galleria, Scott Dayton's shop, which I've told you about many times before.
For most guys, shopping for clothes isn't their favorite thing to do. That's why Scott Dayton opened up Twill in the Galleria 12 years ago. He wanted to create a relaxed, one-stop shop experience for guys. Twill carries many of the best brands in clothing and is the only Peter Millar crown shop in the upper Midwest. Twill carries everything from suits and weekend clothes to shorts and t-shirts, or even a new outfit for the golf course. You can also put your company logo on just about anything there. When it comes to men's clothing, Scott Dayton and his staff have over 100 years of experience. Check out Twill in the Galleria in Edina or online at twillmn.com. And make sure to mention the podcast.
All right. What do you want to do next? Do you want to talk? You have more about Bruce, or do you want to go to Twitter questions?
I would say Twitter question. I haven't looked at what everybody said, but I put out a thing to tweet you.
Because a lot
unless you have other stuff that you want to talk about. I heard that you had got in a little feud this week.
Well, actually, you know what? I think what happened there is I've unwittingly been, on the blunt end of a feud without really knowing it for a long time, and I don't care if somebody criticizes me. You know that very well. Yeah. I don't care if somebody's mad at me or doesn't like me. But what happened a couple Sundays ago, I wrote about Miguel Sano. And people in the Twins organization had always told me, God, we love him. He's a great kid. He's a great player, but I just worry about his weight, And I didn't really have much reason to write about that over the years. Then I'm covering a game, and he had fouled a ball off his leg on the Friday. I'm covering a Sunday game, and the Twins put him on the disabled list. And the same day they put him on the disabled list, I had a couple of my best sources tell me, he weighs about 290 pounds, and we're worried about him long term. We're worried about him coming back from this injury quickly, given he's carrying all that extra weight. And it's not that he's lazy. He's a good kid. He works at the game, but he just eats everything in sight, and he's 24 years old. He better get that under control. And I wrote it exactly in that context. And all of a sudden, like everybody I know in journalism is telling me, hey, there are these bloggers out there saying that you said that Sano got hurt because he was fat and that he's lazy, and it's just blatant lies.
Mm-hmm.
You can rip me all you want, but the problem was that what I had written was being mischaracterized, and people were believing the mischaracterization instead of actually reading what I actually wrote.
Right.
That's when I snapped.
Yeah, I got you. You know, it kind of reminds me of the Miguel Cabrera. I mean, when I covered him down in Florida, that was always the concern with him. I think I've told the story on the podcast before, where I was covering the game at RFK Stadium, the Nationals game, and he walked in with a bag of McDonald's that had like 4 or 5 Big Macs, and I kind of looked at him and I'm like, wow, that's really nice. He's bringing dinner for everybody. And then he proceeded to eat it, and then he washed it down with like a Kit Kat bar the size of your laptop. And then he went 3 for 4 that night with like
I know.
2
He's
homers.
a genius.
And so it kind of reminds me of that. And Miguel, I think Cabrera is still one of the best players in baseball, right? He's
he
hurt
is
this year.
He is, but he's also kind of started breaking down physically.
Yeah.
And listen, it's like Kent Herbeck.
Yeah.
Kent Herbeck had a great career. He was a phenomenal player. He won 2 World Series, but everybody who knows him is like, oh man, he was so great, and he was such a great natural talent. And if he had stayed in shape and taken really good care of himself, maybe he would have been one of the all-time greats instead of just a guy who had a really nice career. You know, that can be the difference.
It's funny. I got into it with one of the bloggers this week. I think in reaction, I was kind of out to lunch in this whole thing with you this week. I really was, just because
You're busy.
You know, you forget of how many things have to happen when you change jobs. It's just a stressful thing. So I really wasn't paying attention, and so somebody tweeted what I didn't realize was a shot at you. And then I think I wrote something back, and then one of the bloggers got into it, and one of the hockey bloggers got into it and kind of said something about made some comment about, I can't remember the context, but he basically said, parasitic. We all should stay in our lanes instead of having this parasitic, attitude toward each other. And then I went into my direct messages and I said to him, like, you realize that is what you just said is the way that 2 of your bloggers treat me on a daily basis.
Yep.
And so he and I got into it for a while, and then the one blogger, he said that he had a talk with him, and now I'm going to try to like calm myself down with him, and like I unblocked him on Twitter. I'm just a saint.
My God.
Yeah, I really,
changed.
I am. I have, I figured out olive branch. So like, but my thing is like, I actually do respect these guys. Like I met with, I hired at The Athletic a kid that's 26 years old, a financial analyst to write our analytics stuff. He's going to write 2 stories a week, 8 a month, because as you and I talked about, that's not my thing.
No.
I can't write it intelligently, but I understand there's an audience for it out there, and I want to make sure that it's covered on our site to complement my coverage, so I hired this guy. I hired this guy because he's a blogger, and I read his stuff pretty religiously. It actually teaches me what's going on with the team at times, and I've grown to respect him. He treats me with respect. So what it did? It eventually helped the guy. And that's my point, is that if this guy had done the same thing, I probably would have gone to him first.
Right.
But all he does is throw vitriol at me. And so I do think that we can all get along and respect the fact that not everybody's lucky enough to have the access that we do. But there should be mutual respect on all angles here. And I think a lot of times, I don't know if they feel like they've been, beaten down by the mainstream media or stuff as kind of stereotypical, like, living in their mom's basement and stuff. But man, it just seems like they
Some live in the attic. It's not all basement.
Yeah. But it does seem like there's just this, like, there's this anger toward us on a regular basis, and they just belittle us, even though, again, I've never meant to accuse them of plagiarism, but I do. But my problem with some of the sites is that we're the ones in there reporting all the news that then is allowing them to know what's going on with the team, to branch off, come up with other ideas, come up and based off what we're reporting, and yet they'll take shots at us and shots at us and shots at us. And that is where I, draw the line at. And so I am defensive on that. And so, my whole thing with these guys, like there's this the zone coverage MN right now. They have a guy named Giles Farrell and Ben Remington. All they do is treat me with respect. So I will pump them up. You know, like I read Giles did a thing on this giraffe pick by the Wild the other day. I thought it read well, and I let him know that. And so, like, I think that, because there's something where, to me, we all do have a role in this, because that's something that I probably wouldn't do. I'm not going to invest the time into writing about 25 Wild draft picks like this kid is. And so I think that's a great thing. And so, but again, I'm not going to do the other site until they show that reciprocal behavior. So, good topic.
well, a couple follow-ups on that, because it's not hockey season yet. Yep. We can talk about different stuff.
Yep.
First of all, I just want people to represent themselves honestly. Mm-hmm. And if you are afraid of going in the Twins clubhouse and you want to paint yourself as some kind of an insider, well, you're lying to people. Mm-hmm. And if you want to take things out of context and pretend you had stuff first when you're getting it from mainstream outlets and just trying to retweet it faster than everybody else, just represent yourself honestly. And there is also a difference. The Wild, it's hard for people to get Wild credentials. Mm-hmm. So
I will say the bloggers that are upset with it's not that they're afraid that the Wild just won't credential them.
And the Twins,
which by the way, when I went to this site,
the
first thing I did was call Sickman. I'm like, hey, just before I make this leap, like I am still going to get into games, right? And I called the NHL and I talked to their head PR guy. I'm like, hey, when I go on the road, because it actually the blogger out there that despises me more than life itself. The one thing that he put on his feed the other day that was really, really funny that made me think is that I think he called me. He goes, basically now I'm a blogger that gets paid. And I'm like, okay, that's a good point.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Nobody would ever say all bloggers are bad. In fact, I made a point when I wrote about this the other day. There are Twins bloggers who show up and do a really good job and tell you stuff that you wouldn't know otherwise. They do their own work, and they represent themselves that way, and they are accountable. It's just having standards. Just don't lie. Just don't lie, and don't pretend you're tough if you're afraid to go in a clubhouse and actually face somebody.
So the Twins credential bloggers.
Yes.
Is that okay?
The Twins are very encouraging, and the Wild aren't. So that's another difference. But it's all it's all about how you represent yourself and whether you're being honest with your readers about the way you do things. And there are some Twins bloggers who are complete frauds and liars.
Mm-hmm. I think the Wolves are like that too, right? I think the Wolves
are very open. Yeah, very open.
It was funny when I was at the Strib. I was perfectly okay with the Wild, not credentialing bloggers, just because to me it's like we're the ones that are investing the thousands and thousands into covering a team, and so I was just like, all right, I don't want the competition, to give people that free ability to go get somebody else, but. I don't know totally how I feel about it because I still, to me, if you're going to read about the Twins, I still think that you go to read what Lavelle and you were writing and Phil Miller and things like that. My thing is I do just want to kind of get along because it does bother me that these the blog I'm talking about is Hockey Wilderness, that they all think I'm an asshole, and that is I think that you know me pretty. I feel like that we can do that now that we're in the studio. We can't. No, this is going into.
We'll just bleep you out, like we always do.
Sorry, that was stupid. God darn it! Let's start the whole show over again.
No, I couldn't do this again. I absolutely couldn't do it again.
But I do I will say it's unbelievable now that two things I'll say. One, now that The Athletic just started, all of a sudden, like every sports writer's in town is like, oh, what are they doing about this writer and this writer and this writer? Then I've gotten so many things from stringers now, freelancers, to basically compliment the coverage as my backup or the Gophers or something like that. And I'm excited that I get to help some of these people out that I actually do read and think that they deserve to work more and things like that because. Look, we all lucked out to get into this business. It's hard now to get in, and you got to find other avenues, and that's why I really respect what The Athletic's doing in really employing and investing in great journalism and great sports writers. And my thing, I started at 16 years old, and I needed that break. You couldn't take my path to where I got today now. So if I can, these kids that have been out of passion all these years, just sitting around writing about the Wild. If I can try to help them out, I'm absolutely going to do it. I don't have total hiring and firing power, but I do have a freelance budget that I hope to be able to dip into.
Cool. Thanks to Fixology in the Mall of America, third floor up by Nordstrom's. They've taken care of Michael many times.
Yes.
And a lot of our listeners have gone to their shop. John Hedges comes out to the live shows. He runs that shop, and as Michael says, he has a great bedside manner.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at Mall of America. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, let's do some Twitter questions, get some actual hockey. Jacob Burkhart, is Eck a sleeper pick for the Calder race this year?
Yeah, I think it would be hard for him just based on, I think guys like Brock Besser and Charlie McAvoy are going to be in unbelievable positions to absolutely explode offensively this year. But Eriksson Ek is somebody that I could tell you, I mean, if you read my story today, Boudreaux, is just so high on this kid. I saw him the other day. Apparently he's huge. I feel bad. I've been so busy this week. I haven't been over to Braemar to watch the captain's practices. I do plan to go tomorrow.
Slacker. God.
Yeah, but
you just haven't done any work since you left the start.
I know. That's true. But I think that's probably pushing it. But I think, hey, if Eriksson Ek looks like he did his first 3 or 4 games in the NHL over an 82-game season, the Wild's got a heck of a player.
Another one from Jacob. Any thoughts on how the rest of the Central Division will do this year?
Well, I think Dallas is going to be much improved. Nashville got a huge blow today with Ryan Ellis being out several months with after knee surgery. That's big. Winnipeg always seems to blow themselves up. I don't really think that Steve Mason and Kulikov put them above the Wild by any stretch of the imagination. Colorado, I don't know what the hell they're doing there. St. Louis is going to be good as always. Chicago, I'll be interested to see how they are. They always seem to find a way. They've seemed to kind of, I don't know what Patrick Sharp at 37 years old is going to do there, but Brandon Saad, getting him back, I think that was a big big push from both Kane and Taves at their end of the year meeting. But we'll see. I think they're probably motivated by the way that they finished as well.
From Jay Burkholz, this sounds rather mean-spirited. How many tennis balls will Cullen need for his walker this year?
I don't know. I think he walks just fine.
From Mark. Let's see. Mark wants to know, can questions be asked from the Twitter mute incarceration cell? So somebody you muted, obviously.
Who is that?
From Mark. Mark 269819330, which I think makes him a Russian bot, is the way this works.
I'll have to look to see if he's actually muted.
From Ben Moffitt, are the Wild in trouble? I actually read a story the other day where Twitter and Facebook handles that have a certain number of digits after the name are Russian bots.
Really?
So I'm going to guess he's a Russian bot. From Ben Moffitt, are the Wild in trouble after this year at center? Aging Koivu and Stahl and the Wild have been inept at developing top-end centers at Iowa.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that they're gonna have to figure out here. Cunnin can definitely play center at times. You could always move Coyle back to center. But yeah, I do think that's why I think it's there's a little pressure there to re-sign. To extend Mikko, because I just don't think that there's anybody on this team that has the ability to do what Mikko could do from all over the place. So I think that's a fair assessment.
From Justin Bakke, I'm assuming I'm pronounced that right. What can you expect out of Eck this season with him adding on 15 pounds? Has he added 15 pounds?
Well, that's according to Bruce Boudreau. But yeah, as long as he could still skate like the wind, like he usually can, I do think that he's got that he's got the ability to be a great center. I like that Cullen insulates him a bit by putting him in a position where if late in games, Bruce doesn't feel like Eriksson Ek is somebody that he could trust at certain key moments that you can move Cullen up. I do think Mark's been muted.
Sorry, Mark, but good self-awareness, Mark.
If you had an easier name for me to figure out, I could go in and unmute you. But the 25 digits after make me time. You probably did something to really deserve to be muted, though.
Yeah, that he caught Russo before.
I like
coffee.
that he knows that he's been muted. He must, which probably shows that he writes me so much, and I've never written back. So I apologize. Actually, if you want to send me an email, I will unmute you as long as
you're nice to him.
You don't make me mute you
as
again.
As long as you're nice to him. Michael's very sensitive.
Yeah.
I have a question, Michael. I got the sense from you all summer that Boudreaux was worried about this team. Now you're saying he's very enthusiastic. Is that just the natural cycle for a coach?
Well, I think it's the natural cycle for him. He's just excited that the season's starting. But I do think that he's concerned about the third pair. And I do, I think his biggest worry is that this team is going to let down, one, that the excitement of last year of having a first-year coach had them playing really well, but two, the fact that there's such a letdown at the end of the year. And their motto this year is going to be good is not good enough. And it's true. I mean, he says it in the story that I'm going to run next week. He says we wiped away all the good things we did last year. So he's being so honest about it. Where some
that's
people,
the great charm
some
of
people,
Bruce.
yeah, where some people in the organization will tell you, hey, we had the second most points in the league, blah blah blah, and we're not going to. He's disappointed. This is a guy that's used to winning the division and he wants to go win a Stanley Cup, and that's his lone goal. I mean, this guy literally every day wakes up, goes to the rink, comes home. Wakes up, goes to the rink, and comes home. He's the type of guy that when they win, they don't go out because he and his wife want to go home so he can watch NHL Network. He's in that good of a mood. And when they lose, he doesn't turn on NHL Network. So, of course, my joke is, so you didn't watch it in March. Oh.
Yeah. You're vicious.
Yeah, I know.
You're just vicious, Michael. My other question is, with the Boston Red Sox scandal, is there anything akin to stealing signs in the NHL? Is there any way to gain an advantage?
I mean, there is. That you always, especially because teams practice in the other building. I remember when we were in Denver 3 or 4 years ago during the playoffs in 2014. There was a red light coming from the press box, and I saw it going, and Daryl Sador saw it. And all of a sudden, Daryl Sador looks at me, and I looked at the thing, and then I decided to go up there just because I wanted to see if they were filming the Wild's practice. And if they were, I was going to just blow the roof off the Avalanche like I like to do. And but it actually just turned out to not be what either of us suspected. So when I came down, I just kind of let them know, nope, I don't have a story. But I mean, I remember there were times, oh my God, I mean, remember the Anaheim playoff series with Jacques and Randy Carlyle. So that was pretty the closest thing where they were watching the way it works in the NHL is that the opposing team's coaches usually sit in the stands and watch the morning skates, and that is allowed. But practices are a no-no. And one day in Anaheim, Randy Carlyle and his staff were watching the Wild's practice in the Arrowhead Pond, and then next thing you know, Jacques Lemaire was doing the same thing. And then another thing with Anaheim is that you have to, at a morning skate for the visiting team, the visiting players, the home players have to be off the ice by 11:15 exactly, so then the ice can get zambonied and freeze in time for the visiting morning skate. It's 11:20, and they're out there, the Ducks. And Mario Tremblay went freaking ballistic. So guess what happened when Anaheim came to Minnesota during the regular season? The Wild are out there till 11:20. But that's the closest thing. There's no real stealing of signs. I mean, the cheating in face-offs, which players do all the time, that's a big thing. But I mean, that's just kind of almost part of the game.
Right. And sign stealing in baseball is part of the game. Using Apple Watches to steal signs is a little different.
Somebody put out a great GIF yesterday of after that Apple Watch story came out of like this guy on an escalator, racing down and bumping into people, and it said something like the Patriots training staff on their way to Best Buy to buy a Apple Watch.
More Twitter questions in a moment, thanks to Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, our longest-running sponsors.
Your banking relationship should match your lifestyle. And if your lifestyle is to live well, you want Crown Bank. You want a bank and a banker who will give you what you want and what you need without a hassle. Crown Bank is responsive. From ordering checks to making you a loan, they build a relationship with you that will help you get what you want so that you can live well. Crown Bank. It's a lifestyle choice and the place to do business. Member FDIC.
All right, Twitter question from Brent Lynch. Does buying in mean that Parise isn't guaranteed a first, second, or even third-line job?
No, I definitely not. I think that he's going to start off with that. But I think when Bruce used that term on buying in, it was an inference that look, a skilled player is going to have to be on the fourth line at times this year. But Parise is going to start on right wing with Eric Staal. That's almost a guarantee.
That makes sense. From Bill, who's an under the radar guy from Iowa who could surprise in training camp.
The problem with the Wild right now and their cap situation is we know pretty much, unless there's injuries, who the 12 forwards are that are going to make the team. All right, right. We know from left to right, Niederreiter, Staal, Parise. Zucker, Koivu, Granlund, Foligno, Eriksson, Ek. We're assuming. Put an asterisk there for a second. Coyle, and then Ennis, Cullen, and Chris Stewart. Now, again, injuries change everything. Eriksson Ek comes into camp and he's garbage. Well, that opens the door for Luke Cunnin or Landon Ferraro or something like that. On the blue line, we know the 7 that are probably going to make the team. All right, it's going to be Suter Spurgeon, it's going to be Brodin Dumba, it's going to be Riley Olsen and Kyle Quincy. That's it. Again, injuries change anything. I think Carson Soucy, Nick Seeler, Ryan Murphy, these guys have a shot to put themselves on the radar to be call-ups if somebody's hurt. Obviously, that puts one of them in the mix. Both Soucy and Seeler are intriguing because they offer a size and a grit dimension that does not exist on the Wild's current blue line, especially with Scanelligon. And then I've got to think that Dubnyk and Stalock are the 2 goalies. Maybe Svedberg figures out a way to beat out Stalock, but it's clearly Stalock's job to lose.
From Ryan Campbell on Twitter, are you able to dunk a basketball in an 8-foot hoop now that you're officially athletic?
Yeah, definitely not.
Is the
it was not a healthy month for me. Physical,
stress,
mental. Yeah, I was like,
how did you, as someone who's as stressed as you are, deal with a job change?
It was a long month, man. It really was. It was a long. I mean, it's not like I kept Jim in the dark. Just to show how long this was going on. I think I told you were going on vacation early August somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Where were you going again?
We went on a cruise.
Yeah, and I told you, which was when?
You
August?
told me late July, I think.
Yeah. I said, just to let you know when you come back, I might not be at the Star Tribune. And you're like, what? So, this has been going on since August 1st. I had a conversation. They sent me a text August 1st. I had a conversation with them August 2nd. I had an offer that night.
That's right. So it wasn't late July,
two
it was
different
early August,
offers. And then we, they learned that I was a reporter first, man. The amount of text, emails, calls that these 2 co-founders got from me, it's amazing they didn't pull, that they didn't say, all right.
That's why I'd never hire you. I'd have to correspond with you all the time.
And then the amount of negotiations, you would have been proud of me. I mean, it was unbelievable. Went to San Francisco after I met. I'll never forget this, and this is getting probably a little too detailed that I shouldn't be sharing stuff like this, but I met with them in San Francisco last week, and they absolutely wined and dined me, or 2 weeks ago, and I sat there at the computer after I had a dinner with the CEO, and I sat in this St. Regis hotel in San Francisco.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. And I wrote a specific long counteroffer. I mean, we're talking like just, a lot of it wasn't just obviously numbers. It was just explaining what I have at the Star Tribune and what I'm giving up, and this is why I need security here and this and blah, blah, blah. And I sat, I'll never forget this. It's like 11 something at night. Actually, no, it wasn't. I went to sleep and I woke up at 3 and I couldn't sleep anymore because I was just thinking about this. And I wrote the thing around 3:30, 4 a.m. And I sat with my finger over the send button for like 10 minutes because I knew that if I went down this path and they said, yes, I'm quitting my job because it was like I needed to stop messing with them. I'm like, if I take this tack to now write them a counteroffer and they come back, I have to be prepared that this is it. And I sent it to him. I went back and lied down. And like an hour later, at like 4 something in the morning, I get a reply back and says, hey, got your email. Great to hear this. I'll have something for you tonight. And I'm like, and then I flew back from San Francisco. I hung out that day with Roxy Bernstein, the play-by-play guy for Pac-10 and ESPN. He's one of my best friends, and talked to him about it. It was actually a therapeutic day. I went to his daughter's tennis practice and things like that, and got my mind off everything. And then I flew back to San Francisco, and I started writing my goodbye column in the Star Tribune that never ran. And the whole time I was refreshing my email. See, this is why people I think like me, because actually this is my my psychology. Like I just tell them everything, so they feel like they know me. But I sat there refreshing my email every second, and all of a sudden it's like 11:30 at night. I was on the last flight out of San Francisco, so 11:30 at night. I'm landing, and boom, we're descending, and then the counteroffer came in, and I was like. So, because I knew that was it. And then it took a day of negotiation the next day and rewriting. My brother was an attorney, and he basically rewrote my entire contract. We had a 2-hour conference call with them Saturday night, the CEO. And then I go to bed thinking that I'm quitting my job the next morning. I was going to call Glenn. I wake up to an email with my brother to change a bunch of other stuff in the contract. And then I'm at the Children's Museum and quit my job. It was pretty weird.
It's funny. I've been at the Star Tribune for 27 years, and there are a lot of people in our business who want job offers so they can leverage raises. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way the game's played. I just never played that game. It's like I was at the Dallas Morning News. Star Tribune offered me a job. I just took it.
Yeah.
I didn't play any games, and then I've been here for 27 years. I've sent out one resume, and it was for a job I probably wasn't going to get anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I always feel like if you're going to play the game, man, you better be ready to leave.
Well, let me just tell you this, and again, since we're amongst friends and everybody's listening, this is just how good this strib is that, so 18 months ago this happened, as we all know, and I didn't take the job at the NHL, and I got and the strib really was very nice to me to keep me. And that's why I almost didn't go to them with this. I was just either going to take the job or not. Because I was so embarrassed that I was doing this again. Again, I shouldn't say this, but ESPN came calling in June, and I didn't even listen to him because I'm like, I can't do this to the strib again. And then this happened, and I met with Glenn and C-Mill, my editors, and we made arrangements that I'd meet with Renee, and I wrote in this long email basically apologizing that this was happening again, and I made it very clear, I'm not doing this to get a rate. I'm just telling you this is an unbelievable opportunity. And, just let you know, and they were so, Klingensmith and Renee were so unbelievable to me throughout the process of 2.5, 3 weeks, and, understanding why I had to go to San Francisco and look these guys in the eye. Somebody I really respect said, you should never take a job without meeting them and looking them in the eye. And I'm like, so I said to these guys, can I come out there? And they're like, actually, it was before that podcast a couple weeks ago, and I said, can I come out there? And I'm like, and they're like, yeah, book it. And I booked it at Hell's Kitchen, the flight. But that's how amazing they were, and yet they still made a counteroffer to try to keep me. And when this just happened 18 months ago, and that's what I mean about how sickening and the whole experience was, because part of me part of me took the job because I wanted to and deep down in my sick head was like I wanted to show them I wasn't doing this to try to get another raise. It's like what I mean. Like it was like I felt so bad that I was so embarrassed when they sent that counteroffer in, because I cannot believe I'm doing this to these guys again. Like I was not expecting that, and so anyway,
that's it. I'm never dating you.
Yeah, I know. Boy, we've really told a lot of inside. That's why people like this podcast. You get. Especially when we're in studio, you get a little more of the unfiltered Russo.
And, of course, the best part of the show is always when Michael says, I shouldn't say this.
Yeah. Well, and there's been about 6 of those today.
We're on a
I'm going to be driving home today. And
here's what's going to happen, Jim and Scott. He's going to call you guys and say, can you cut out the part? And you guys, here's what you do. You just say, no. No, absolutely not.
Except the part when I might have dropped a little.
Yeah, we'll bleep you, but we won't edit you. How about that?
Yeah, this might be one of our most solid podcasts. From
the rest stink.
At least interesting in that people are really learning how this process worked.
Very true. Back to Twitter questions.
Ryan
Campbell is. By the way, the Star Tribune will hire a good hockey writer, and we will throw multiple people at the beat. And again, I'm
still going to kick their ass. So I'm just telling you. Sorry, you got to beep that again.
I encourage you to read all and both. Ryan Campbell, is the Ennis Spurgeon thing as cute as it sounds? Do either of them shave more than once a week?
Yeah, it's. Sorry, I'm going to probably have to write that story in camp. I'm just telling you. Just prepare. If you don't want to read it, maybe that's the one you don't read.
From Bill, are any of the depth defensemen with grit ready to fill in at the NHL level now and push for a job next year?
Maybe a guy like Sealer, but I still think Soucy's coming right out of college. He's got to play in the minors.
From Ryan Campbell, does Bruce have enough confidence in Stalock to have him play 30% of the games so Dubes is fresh at playoff time?
I mean, 30% of the games is not usually what usually a starting goalie plays 3 out of 4. And so, 30 I think is a little high. If he's playing 30% of the games, it probably means that Dubnyk got hurt or is not performing well, which wouldn't be good for anybody. So, but yes, Bruce wants to not just play Stalock in the second of back-to-backs, which became Kemper's job until even that was too much for him. They want to spot start him. They want to play him 1 out of every 4 games.
From our friend Luke Cahill. Luke, we haven't seen his show lately. Come back out. How has Ennis looked to you at Octagon?
Good, small. He's definitely small. I think he's got to be smaller than Spurgeon. So hopefully he stays healthy. He's got an incredible skill.
From Brent Berkemeyer, will Parisi bounce back?
I think so. I mean, he looks good. He's definitely seems to be healthy. He needs the luck. He needs to come in with a fresh mind. He's going to start on right wing, which he had that choice. Bruce gave him that choice, said, do you want to play left wing or right wing? He said right. That's where he's starting. So now it's just up to him to score. I mean, it is up to him. He's being put in a position. So if he doesn't, then it's alarming. These guys do have 8 years left on their contracts.
Last Twitter question from Ryan Campbell. Does the addition
maybe.
of Cullen guarantee or provide enough flexibility that Coyle can play wing full time?
Well, definitely if Eriksson Ek's good enough to make the team. If he's not, as one of the questioners asked, if Eriksson Ek doesn't make the team at center, it changes everything. And maybe then actually the way it would work is Coyle goes to center, then you have Ennis in a third line role where he gets more ice time, and then one of these minor leaguers make the team. So right now, if Eriksson Ek is good enough, Coyle will start at wing. If he's not, I think Coyle has to start at center.
The Mixed Sports Radio Facebook page, mnspn.com. He's Michael Russo. We'll see you next week.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
From the kids to Aunt Sue. Keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig-speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Learn more about gig-speed internet or other popular plans, now with even more speed. Enjoy faster downloads and a better streaming experience today. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store for a great offer. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
Is your cell phone bill out of control? Then this is your wake-up call. The new TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month, no contract, plus unlimited carryover data with active service. Yep, the new TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.